one, I want to correct one piece of the premise. When you get 49%, which is a plurality, not a majority, it's not a mandate.
No, it's not a mandate.
Okay, but so one, they overinterpreted just like George Bush did in 2004. And he said, I got a mandate, and he went to privatize Social Security, and he got smacked in 2006. Okay. They do not have a mandate.
Who gives a fuck? He won the election. He won all 7 swing states.
They are trying to believe something, and that's safe streets, strong schools, stable finances. Focus on those 3 things, and your city's going to be fine. We've gone through 5 years where people became way too permissive of culture. They were all, which is why everything's locked up at Walgreens and CVS, and that is a disaster. Yeah. And our school, and I'll say this about our schools: I don't want to hear another word about the locker room. I don't want to hear another word about the bathroom. You better start focusing on the classroom.
Maher just got totally shut down, and the crowd went crazy. Moments like this don't happen often, and trust me, this will be remembered as one of the best. Bill Maher was completely outmatched, especially next to Zelensky. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get into the video. In a recent interview, Bill Maher had 2 guests, Rahm Emanuel and Fareed Zakaria. Before showing how they totally took down Bill Maher, let's first hear their thoughts on Trump, because this is the common sense we've all been waiting for.
What do you think about Trump's proposed $5 million gold card visa for wealthy foreigners? Is it smart economic move or a problematic policy? I guess I know what you're talking about. Trump wants to sell a visa. Do you get permanent residency? By the way, I looked this up, we are hardly the first country to do this. Doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. But, I remember...
Yeah, we actually have a version of it. It's called, I think it's called the EB5 or something like that. So it's fine to do it. I actually think maybe it's because I'm, very patriotic. I think 5 million, we should be charging 20 million, or, American citizenship is worth more than that.
It comes with Ukrainian minerals, though.
But what I love about Trump is he said, you get the green card, but with this, the gold card, you get extra privileges. like what? You get to vote twice? Or what?
Well, now you're speaking Chicago language. I'm for it, but it's part of a bigger package on immigration reform. It's been 42 years since the last one, so I'm not against it, but it's part of a whole package.
Really refreshing to see this kind of energy on Bill Maher's show, but you can tell this wasn't the response Bill was expecting. These 2 guys absolutely nailed it. But here's the best part: they gave Bill a lesson he won't forget.
What's going on in Chicago?
Look, we were talking about this a little earlier. You have also the mayor of New York not doing well. Obviously, other things also here in Los Angeles not doing well, the mayor here. And then you got mayors, like the mayor of San Francisco and other cities that are doing well. So I would say, look, there is a general rule. I had this when I was mayor. Safe streets, strong schools, stable finances. Focus on those 3 things, and your city's going to be fine. We've gone through 5 years where people became way too permissive of culture. They were all, which is why everything's locked up at Walgreens and CVS.
Amazing. Look at how clearly he explained everything in one go. This right here is exactly why things are so messed up right now. In the past, all they did was push woke nonsense into our education system, and that's the real problem. We need more people like this to speak the truth. But of course, Bill Maher will probably just laugh it off like he always does.
Our school, and I'll say this about our schools: I don't want to hear another word about the locker room. I don't want to hear another word about the bathroom. You better start focusing on the classroom.
Have you seen how badly he messed up? Even the crowd was cheering, almost relieved to finally hear someone speak the truth. But that's not even the best part. Watch how he completely tore them apart, piece by piece.
We have the worst reading scores for 8th graders in 30 years. And nobody, not a governor, not a mayor, not a president, not a secretary of education is talking about it. We're all wrapped up. Look, in 7th grade, if I known that I could have said the word they and got in the girls' bathroom, I would have done it. We literally are a superpower. We're facing off against China with 1.4 billion people, and 2/3 of our children can't read 8th grade level. So no more about the lot. Wait a second, I'm on a roll for a second. I
gave it the light.
I don't want to hear another word about the classroom. I don't want to hear another word about the bathroom until you tell me what you're going to do with the classroom.
They were so quick to interrupt him, but the guy kept pointing out the truth without holding back. And you can see Bill Maher just sitting there, staying quiet, because everything this brilliant man is saying is spot on. I absolutely love how he shut down the CNN guy by saying, "I don't need a role." Because let's be honest, all they do is push fake news. But then watch how Bill tries to twist the conversation and steer it back into his usual Democrat narrative.
There's a pattern in American politics, and it's about overreaching. Whenever someone wins an election big time, and Trump kind of did, they overreach. And that seems to be what's going on. And I said, maybe the best thing the Democrats can do is just be as lame as they are, and that strategy's working perfectly.
No, well,
And James Carville this week kind of one-upped it. He said, what the Democrats, I'm just asking, I'm not saying I necessarily agree with it, he said they need to just play dead. Because this administration, only 5 weeks old, is making itself so unpopular that the worst thing anybody else can do is just get in the way. They're digging a hole, let them dig. That's James Carville.
that must be the applause for the whole part. Right there.
It amazes me how the woke crowd still refuses to accept that Trump was president. They just can't handle it, especially Bill Maher. Did you notice how the crowd erupted in applause when it was pointed out that Trump accomplished more in just a few weeks than they ever expected? It's almost like Bill needs to change his audience because even they aren't buying his nonsense anymore. Just watch how he completely lost control of the conversation. He totally messed this one up.
I want to correct one piece of the premise. When you get 49%, which is a plurality, not a majority, it's not a mandate.
No, it's not a mandate.
Okay, but so one, they overinterpreted just like George Bush did in 2004. And he said, I got a mandate, and he went to privatize Social Security, and he got smacked in 2006. Okay. They do not have a mandate.
Who gives a fuck? He won the election. He won all 7 swing states.
They are trying to believe something, and that's misinterpreting. Now, number one. Number two, let me say what
changes nothing.
James Carville, who's a dear friend, said 2 things in there that aren't the same. He said retreat, and he said rope-a-dope. And rope-a-dope, it's not a retreat. He was using your strengths against your opponent's weaknesses. And rope-a-dope, in the sense of allowing Donald Trump to do what he is doing, and I think the biggest fights beyond what we just saw in the Oval Office will be when he literally tries to cut people's health care to pay for tax cuts for the rich people, for Elon Musk, and the rest of the people he's hanging with. And that is where you're going to see the biggest fight, and I think there is where you would gain. I don't agree with the idea, now, genetically I don't agree with the idea of retreating. It's just not in my DNA. But rope-a-dope and retreating, which he used in that piece, is not the same strategy. Okay. And I would not retreat.
It's funny watching Bill Maher try so hard to deny the truth. He seems completely out of touch with reality. As the saying goes, never interrupt your enemy when they're ruining themselves. Honestly, I think the Dems are doing this without even realizing it. And it might actually benefit us. Soon, we might have a more peaceful world without their constant interference.
If you look at democratic cities, they are terribly run. They have incredibly high taxes. It is impossible to build, so the cost of housing... Let me finish. The cost of housing is crazy in places like New York and Chicago. If you look at democratic states, you go look at New York versus Florida, okay? Roughly the same population. The budget of New York State is twice that of Florida. What do they have? Streets paved with gold? I live in New York. I pay the highest taxes in New York. You get nothing for it. And I think that is the image people have of the Democratic Party. Lots of taxes, lots of regulation, but nothing gets done.
Hey,
and I think
I live in LA.
Right.